Good afternoon and welcome everyone. We'd like to welcome you to the Martin Luther King Community Impact Day on behalf of the Iota Lambda Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We are building your economic legacy today with Boca Warjolo of PFS Investments. And on behalf of our president, Sharon Stanley Merriweather, Program Chairman Angela Williams, Target 3 Co-Chairman Ayanna Baker, and myself, Nona Carroll. We would like to, we're hoping that you're joining us and hoping to learn a little bit about your financial legacy through some inspiring words. So Boca, if you wouldn't mind just giving a quick hello and intro about yourself, and we'll get started in our program.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yes, ma'am. So just a little background, like I told Nona before this, I don't really like to talk about myself too much, but I grew up in Delaware most of my life. If you've even heard of Delaware, it's like this big, you know. And I went to University of Delaware, got a mechanical engineering degree, stayed 2 more years. I got my MBA. I went to work in construction at the second biggest general contractor in DC called Davis Construction at the time. That was the year 2000. And I did love my job at the time, but there was a guy at my job, he hated his job. He was 50-something years old. He would complain about his job every day. And I'm like, well, why don't you just quit, you know? But 23-year-old kids don't understand 50-year-old men problems. You know, so he's got kids in college he's got to pay for. He's got his mortgage payment. He's got car payments. He's got bills. He can't quit. So I didn't know what I wanted to do with my whole life at that time. But what I knew was I didn't want to have to wake up every day and go to a job I hated, you know? So I started in financial services part-time at the time, just to do something to earn some extra money, maybe retire early so that my life could be in my own hands. And I ended up falling in love with it. I was part-time for 14 years. I left my full-time job in construction about 3 years ago. 4 years, no. Yeah, 4 years ago now, 2017. Wow. Yeah, and I've been full-time ever since, helping people and, you know, making sure our clients at least have the knowledge to do what they need to do and have the assistance with planning and things like that. And it's just been fulfilling, and it's a fantastic thing for me.
That is very awesome and very understandable. I also got into financial services pretty early on and, you know, realized that I wanted to help people with their money, even though I had very little of my own, but it did help build a good foundation going forward. So let's just start off with, you know, financial independence.
Okay.
Talk to us a little bit about what that even means.
Absolutely. And, you know, everybody has their own definition, but financially speaking, you're financially independent when your passive income is greater than your living expenses. And passive income is just the money that you don't work for. So you either have active income that you have to go to work for, or you have the passive income that comes in regardless. There's plenty of ways to have passive income. It could be rental real estate, could be intellectual property. But we're going to talk today mostly about stocks and bonds, dividends from stocks and bonds, and investing in the market to accumulate a nest egg and then living off of that nest egg. So you have to express your financial independence goal in numbers, because money is all about numbers. You know, I want to be able to do this and this and that. What does that equal to in numbers? So in order to, there's a lot of apps online to figure out your financial independence number. But basically what you have to figure out is, what do you want your lifestyle to be like? And when do you want to retire? Okay. You have to put in an assumption about what you're going to earn on the way, but that's how you're going to determine your financial independence number. And from there, you just work towards that goal.
That makes a lot of sense. And of course, there's some spending that happens along the way.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I know that's a habit that you also have to begin to build, you know, just the healthy spending of it all. And so we're going to, I guess, what I found really interesting was this financial house. And so audience, please forgive me as I'm toggling through different screens, but we're going to bring some images up on the screen right now, so that you'll be able to kind of see what we're talking about. All right, so Boca, here we go.
Yeah, so basically what we know is that all parts of your finances affect the others. There's no one part of your finances that exists in a bubble. Like, what you do with your insurance is going to affect, your retirement. Everything's together. So for instance, if you don't have an emergency fund, which is like, I guess, 3 or 4 levels up, if you don't have an emergency fund, but you do have a retirement and an emergency comes up, guess what your retirement ends up being? Your emergency fund, right?
Right.
And you could free up so much more money to save if you had no debt, but if you continue to accumulate debt, it's going to affect your retirement and the fact that you cannot save, and plus you'll have extra bills at retirement. So we try to put it all together. And the reason we use the analogy of the house is because, like I said, I was in construction. When I was in construction and they gave us the blueprints, you'd have a big page called the plan page, and you would have the detail pages, right? So it would take a little box out of one certain place, one certain part of the plan page, and it would take you to another place to blow that up and show the details. And on the detail page, they would also have a blowout, right? So planning for something big, it takes some details. You have to take care of the details, and everything has to be put together in order. So if you want to think about it like this, if there was a job site and one day somebody came and threw a toilet on the job site, the next day they came and threw some drywall studs on the job site, then they threw some concrete on top, and then they threw some windows on top. You have all the things that you need to build a house, but it's not a house.
Right.
You have to follow some plans, and you have to put these things together in order. Nobody talks about putting the roof up if you haven't even set the foundation with the concrete. You with me? So these things have to be done in order. And when it comes to your finances, you have to play defense while you're playing offense, okay? So you're building towards financial independence. You're accumulating wealth. You're building your assets, right? But at the same time, you have to protect what you already have. Dave Ramsey gave a good analogy where he said, if it's a boxer, he always has one hand here while he jabs. He's playing defense while he's playing offense. You with me? So you have to protect your assets as you build your assets further. It makes sense, right? Yeah, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so you have to protect your assets. You know what I mean? So life insurance, for instance, you have to have income in order to build wealth. And if that income stops, if somebody was to pass away, how can the rest of the family achieve financial independence? You with me? You have to have that emergency fund, health insurance, all these things to protect where you're currently at so you can move forward. So
Boca, we have a question from Jewel, and I know in the next couple of talking points you're going to address some of this, but the question is there a realistic timeline to reach for, to gain in financial independence? So similar to ideas that you should have so much saved by a certain age. So again, I know some of this will be addressed in what we're going to be talking about soon, but are there any pieces that you feel like we might want to address now?
No, this is a great question because it used to be that retirement used to be a 3-legged stool of Social Security, company pension, and your savings. And at that time, your savings was the smallest part of it. People would live off that Social Security and they would work for a company, let's say a factory or some kind of manufacturing job for years. And when they retired at age 65, that job would not only send them a check for the rest of their life, but they would also pay their health insurance. Everything, it's nuts, right? So now you don't see a pension in most companies. It's even going away from the public sector, if you can believe it. And Social Security is not something you want to depend on for your full retirement. Okay, there's a lot of reasons on that, but you don't want to depend. It's constantly changing just to stay in existence. If it didn't have the change, they pushed back the Social Security retirement age to 67. They started taxing Social Security if you make so much money. They decreased the benefit, all kinds of stuff. So it's going to get worse and worse moving forward. So the answer to the question is, Retirement is no longer an age. Retirement is an amount of money. If you have the money, you can retire at any time.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have the money, you can never retire. 60, 70, 80, 90. You with me? So what's a realistic time frame? You got to figure out how much can you save every month and how important is it to you to retire, right? And then you'll figure out how long it's going to take you to accumulate what you need to accumulate, and you set the time. You with me?
Absolutely. And so I think that is what I saw really interesting. And I'm going to come off screen so that you all can see this image a little bit more clearly. But you're talking about decreasing responsibilities. So here we go.
Yes. So first, let me talk about the purpose of life insurance. Think about it like this, okay? Everybody has car insurance, and people that own a home have homeowners insurance. And Nona, you can respond, right? I'm going to go back and forth with you a little bit on this. Is that okay? Darn, I can't hear you too well. But what happens is the worst thing that could happen to your car is if you total your car. If you total your car, the car insurance company is going to write you a check to replace that car. If your house burns down in a fire, your homeowner's insurance company is going to write you a check to replace the house, okay? All insurances are to replace something, even cell phone insurance, even though you got to fight them like I don't know what to get your cell phone replaced or fixed, but that's a different story. But that's the purpose, okay? So the thing about life insurance is it can't replace your life, but it can replace your income, right? So we like to call it income replacement insurance, okay? So think about it like if you were to have your income cut in half, how much would that affect your finances for your family? It'd be very, very tough. And if you pass away, your income is cut 100%, and that would be devastating, okay? So you got to think about if something was to happen to me, would I want my family to live better, the same, or worse? And if my income's not coming in, they're not going to live better. So if you think protecting your income and protecting the lifestyle of your family that you've worked so hard to build is important, that's why life insurance is important, okay? And what this diagram shows is, oh, and then you have to calculate the need. You have to figure out how much you need. There's a lot of ways to do that. 2 ways I'll talk about. Number 1 is the 10 times rule. If you have 10 times your income in life insurance, your family is good for at least the next 10 years. Probably longer if it's invested, maybe 12, 15, maybe even 20 years if it's invested properly. So 10 times your income is one good way to calculate a life insurance need. And also you can cover your mortgage, you can cover your debts, you can cover your funeral and final expenses, okay? But this theory of decreasing responsibility basically says this, and this is how life works. It says in the early years, you're going to need a lot of coverage. And the reason being, you have little kids that depend on you. Maybe you have debt, maybe you have a mortgage, but the fact of the matter is the loss of your income would devastate your family. And the reason being is on the lower end, in the light green, is that we don't have a lot of money saved early. While we have a family and the kids are young and, we're just starting off in life, things like that. So we don't have a lot of money. So based on the amount of money you currently have saved, how long could your family survive, live their same income without your income just on that savings, okay? So if that's not long, then that's why you need life insurance early. 2 things happens as you go through life. Number 1, you can see in the green on the top, in the later years, you better have money, and the yellow on the bottom, because in the later years, you may not need coverage. Why might you not need coverage? Number 1, your kids grow up, okay? Think about what age were you when you became independent from your parents. Whatever age that was, you might have wanted their help financially, but you didn't need it. So for instance, my mother passed away about 3 years ago now. She didn't need to leave me any life insurance. I'm taking care of my own family, okay? So in our mind, when we teach about life insurance, the life insurance need goes away. The protection of your income need goes away, okay? Because your kids, they don't need that money anymore, okay? And plus you've lowered your debt, you've paid off your mortgage, and you need money to retire, okay? So think about this. If you had life insurance for a certain period of time until your kids were grown, at least 25. For most people, 23 might be okay. And you accumulated some wealth, $250,000, $500,000, $1 million saved, and you passed away without life insurance in place, your family would get that $500,000, wouldn't they? They don't. Do they care that it's not life insurance money? Are they at your funeral talking about, man, they leave us no life insurance, just this $500,000? They don't care about that, right? And they didn't need the money anyway. But if you lived, you needed the money to retire off. Okay, and so that's how we think about life insurance. So if you want to go to the next slide.
I'm back.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
All right. So you put up the graphic about term insurance versus cash value, right?
Yep, that is up now.
Okay, perfect. So so basically it's two types of life insurance. There's term insurance, and most fall under one of these two categories. Term insurance, which stays the same premium for a certain period of time, right? Usually until your kids are grown, according to the theory of decreasing responsibility. There's also cash value life insurance, which lasts your whole life, right? But if they both cost the same amount of money, we take cash value 100% of the time. But the fact of the matter is they don't. So this is an example of a client who was spending $295 a month for their cash value life insurance. They had $150,000 in coverage on each the husband and the wife. And what they were told was by age 65, they would have $124,000 saved in the cash value of the policy. Okay, which they've accomplished their life insurance need. They've accomplished their savings need. So they're very happy, if they think about their life, okay? But what they were asked to do was make a decision without being given all the information, all the options, all the choices. So for the same $295, they could get $400,000 of life insurance each. Okay, and obviously, if you could have $400,000 for your wife or your husband, if you were to pass away versus $150,000, you would take $400,000. Okay, but that $400,000, it only costs $126 a month. Okay, leaving $169 extra. So we're assuming they're going to spend the same $295. So if that $169 is saved at a 9% return, which is just under the average of the stock market in the last 80 years, they would accumulate $500,000 at retirement at the same age 65. So obviously you'd rather have $500,000 at retirement than $124,000 at retirement. So for most middle income families where money is tight, you got to think about where you're spending your money. You almost have to get the best bang for your buck, because retirement's easy if you can save $5,000 or $10,000 a month, okay? But most people can't do that. So they have to squeeze the best value out of every dollar. So in order to accomplish the theory of decreasing responsibility, which is the right amount of coverage while you're young. This is a 35-year policy as well. So this is the right amount of coverage while you're young, and at the same time accumulating wealth for when you're older. Then obviously the one, I hope it's your right as well, the one on the right looks better than the one on the left as a better way for the same $295 to accomplish that. So we usually recommend term insurance plus investing. The difference passively, we'll talk about that in a second.
All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about some cash flow planning. Is that part of that whole image there, or?
Yeah, cash flow planning doesn't have a certain image, but what I did want to mention is this, and this is my best analogy for this. Most people know, and you know this, you've been in the industry, they try to spend and then save whatever's left over after they spend, right?
Absolutely.
What's the problem with that?
Spending too much.
Ain't nothing left over.
Right.
Ain't nothing left over.
Right.
So it's like, if you can imagine, you get your check, there's a line of people waiting to get paid. You just got paid. There's a line of people waiting to get paid. The first person in line is your uncle, Sam. The tax man wants his money first, Right. So you give him a check, he goes to the side. Next person up is your mortgage payment. You give them a check, they go to the side. Car payment, give them a check, go to the side. Cable. No, not cable, whatever, streaming, whatever. Right. On and on and on and on and on. All these people, right? At the end of the line, guess how much money is left?
You
Nothing.
might be negative, depending
And
on
you're negative. You're negative.
right,
And guess who you haven't paid yet?
yourself.
And who went to work for the money?
Yeah, it's really disappointing whenever you're in that kind of a situation.
So we
Absolutely.
say, absolutely. So we say, put yourself in the front of the line. If it's, I can't go to McDonald's when my kid is saying, I got to eat now and I can't wait till I get home, well, sacrifice that, not your retirement. You know, because every dollar that you don't save, that you could have saved, is a dollar that you're stealing from your 65-year-old self. A defenseless old woman, you're stealing money, right?
Right.
Why would you do that? So
Yeah.
simply what we do, we list all your bills down, right? There's either going to be a surplus, there's going to be more left, there's going to be a shortfall, there's going to be less, you're going to be paying more than you're coming in, or it's going to be flat, right? So our thing is, if you're short, you're going to have to make some cuts, I'm sorry. Being financially
Absolutely.
independent is just not easy for everybody. You're going to have to make some cuts if one day you want to live without having to work. So once we do that and we find out how much is left, we're going to put that money, whatever it is, we're going to put it away first of the month before you even get a chance to spend an automatic draft from your checking account. Then spend whatever you want. Just don't use any credit card. Now you don't have to worry about a budget ever again. The money's saved already. Your income is going to determine what you spend your money on. Because if you took a pay cut by that $300 or whatever, you'd find a way to live. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think that's all I have on that.
Okay. So now we get into the fun, because I think, I think about myself with having 4 kids and all my money going to my 4 kids and looking forward to when they're all out of the house, even though I'll be very sad. But I also know that my husband and I will enjoy it because we will have our money back.
Amen.
So let's talk about retirement planning.
Sure.
And I'm going to bring up the image for Rule of 72.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right. So this right here is the saving grace for middle income Americans. Okay. Because a lot of people, they grow up and maybe they never had a lot of money, or, they were middle class and, and everybody around them didn't have a lot of money or whatever. And it's natural to think, I've never had money. My parents never had money. The people around me don't have money. I'm never going to have money, right? It's very, very natural to think. And a lot of people think you have to have a lot of money to have a lot of money, okay? But this is not true. So the rule of 72, it says, take the interest rate you're earning, divide it into 72. That tells you how long it's going to take for your money to double, okay? So in this example, if you're earning 3%, that means 72 divided by 3 is 24. So you can see after 24 years, your money is going to double, and another 24 years is going to double again. If somehow you could earn 6% instead, it would double not every 24 years, but every 12 years, right? So by doubling the interest rate in the same amount of time, you're going to have quadruple the money. I used to think if it was double the interest rate, it would be double the money. But what you actually do is you double the doubling periods. Instead of having 2 doubling periods in those 48 years, you now have 4. It makes a huge difference. And if you double the interest one more time to 12%, instead of having $160,000, you'll have over $2.5 million saved, which is awesome, right? Which is awesome. All right, so that takes us to this, because a lot of times, because when I was in my first meeting, when I was introduced to the company, and I saw that concept, that Rule of 72 concept, I said, man, that's good for the slide. It's good information, but you can't get 10%. And trust me, I thought I knew everything, man. I thought I was the smartest man on earth. Most 23-year-old kids think that, by the way. So I thought I was the smartest guy. You can't get that anyway. So, I mean, it's good information, but okay. So then they hit me to the fact that the U.S. stock market that everybody has access to has brought back between 10 and 12% for 80 years. So here's what we know. But the problem is most people investing in that same market have not brought back that return, and some people have lost money. Okay? And the reason is they're trying to time the market. They're trying to time the market. When do I get in? When do I pull out? What, you know what I mean? And a lot of times they don't have enough knowledge, education to make those decisions, so they lose money. Okay? But if you have time in the market as opposed to trying to time the market, you will win because companies will continue to make more and more money. I mean, and people will continue to buy stuff, guaranteed. Okay, so if the companies are going to make more and more money, their stock prices are going to go up and up and up, and only they'll go down a little bit every now and again because of fear in the market. Okay, so this graphic here shows that if you look at a 10-year period, what's going to happen? 2 or 3 of those years are going to be down years in the market, 2 or 3 out of 10. And 7 or 8 years are going to be up years in the market, 7 or 8 out of 10. And those down markets in the last 80 years have averaged 12% down. The up markets in the last 80 years have averaged 20% up. And if you take those together, you'll find it's over a 10% return over the last 80 years. So you can get those types of returns. And like I said before, thank God you can. Because if not for compound interest and a long period of time to invest, you got no chance. Unless you got $5,000 a month to save, $10,000 a month to save, then you're okay. Okay? All right, cool. That's it. And so, and the best way to take advantage of the market for those people who don't want to be studying those charts or whatever, you see those ticker things and you have to figure everything out. The best way to invest in the market and get market returned is to invest in mutual funds for people that are not very savvy in that area. Okay, because you have mutual fund managers that are, and they pick the investments for you, right? And you're going to get market returns without having to have the knowledge of when to get in, when to get out, what do I pick, what's good now, you know what I mean, things like that.
So Charvon asked a question about, is there a percentage of your pay you should save towards retirement, which I know we're getting ready to talk a little bit about, when you should start, how much you should save.
Yeah.
But is there even, somebody just wanting to dabble a little bit, like what would you recommend?
Yeah, I recommend 10 to 20%. If we're looking at retirement, we recommend 10 to 20% of what you make. And I'm going to get to this in a second, but you start with whatever you got.
And I would say, just to offer, if your company offers a 401k and they have match towards your 401k, at least do the minimum that they will match up to. So for example, if they offer 50 cents on the dollar for the first 6% of what you contribute, if you put in 6%, they're going to give you 3% more. And so if that's where you start, that is a great starting place so that you can at least take advantage of what I consider and what most would consider free money.
Free money.
From your employer.
Absolutely. I would agree. Yeah.
All right. So let's start talking about then the when to start.
Okay. And just to piggyback on what you said, if your company is matching 50% of what you make, it's like getting a 50% return on your money. Guaranteed. You can't beat that. If they're matching 100%, it's like getting 100% return on your money, guaranteed. There's nowhere else to get that. So I'm glad you talked about that.
All right. And before you get into the when, Nicole is asking a question about your thoughts on apps like Stash and Robinhood for online investing.
So now we're going to get into my opinion here. So if you, two things, if you have extra money and you want to learn investing, if you want to learn about stocks and pick stocks, see what happens, learn that way while you're maybe reading books or looking at videos or something like that. I love those apps because what happened realistically is the proliferation, I think is the word. You know, a lot of those apps have been coming on. Robinhood, Stash, you know, all those apps have been coming around. It's allowed a lot of people to get into the market that would not normally have gotten into the market. And that's a fantastic thing, because that's how the people that build wealth in America build wealth, you know, it's through the market. And of course, real estate too, but through the market. And so if you have money that whether you lose it or not, it's okay, then I would definitely, because probably in the beginning you might not do as well just because you don't have a lot of knowledge early, okay? But if you're willing to lose that money and you could learn through investing, I would definitely do that. With your retirement savings, though, I wouldn't necessarily do that until you have a good feel. If you look, if you go 2-3 years and you're getting good returns and things like that, and you want to put some real money into it, that's one thing. But using it versus depending on it is two different things, especially early.
And the amount of time that you're willing to put towards it too,
Agreed.
because that is a very active investment strategy where you want to be on top of the news of the companies that you're investing in, and being just knowing when it's time to sell or when to buy. So that's where, when you get into the mutual funds, somebody's actively doing that for you. So it does depend on, how much time do you want to put towards that piece of it, I think, as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. And if you're not thinking about it as an education, like you're paying for college, like a class, and you're thinking about it as, this is how I'm going to make some money right now, it's a very naive thing to think, because there are people that have been in investing industry for years, and they're just doing okay. They're still trying to figure this out. So if you don't think of it as, okay, here I'm about to learn by investing, then you're thinking of it wrong, I would say.
And sorry, one more question. Required minimum distribution age is what? Is it 72 currently?
It just moved to 72, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So I think we're ready to talk about the when to start.
Okay.
Yep, I do have it. Do you want me to show this image?
Yeah, let's do it.
And I'm going to come off screen again. Sorry, everyone. It just makes it easier for you to be able to see these images larger. So
perfect. So the main thing I want to say on this is you want to start early. And if it's not early for you, if you got a little salt and pepper, a little seasoning or whatever, start immediately, okay? Because this right here shows if you were to save $200 monthly, which is basically $50 a week, you earn 9%, which is the 80-year average return per year, compounded return of the stock market, and you wanted to save until age 67. $50 a week, put into mutual funds in the stock market till age 67, you'd have $1.8 million. You start at age 20, okay? What we know about people in their 20s is they don't like to save money, they like to spend it. Because I was like that too, you don't like to save money, you like to spend it, and they think they got the rest of their life to save and party a little bit now and save some later. But the fact of the matter is this, right? You're either going to have a savings habit or you're going to have a spending habit. There's no in between. If you don't have a savings habit, you have a spending habit. So if you have a spending habit and you make more money, guess what you're going to do? Spend more money. And that could be lethal to your retirement savings. But if you have a savings habit and you make more money, you're going to save more money. I started a young lady with savings. She's 24, I believe, right? And we started with $25 a month, just $25 a month. She had just gotten her first job and things like that. Oh, I don't know if I could do it. With the help of her mother, we convinced her. $25 a month. Would you be surprised she didn't miss it? In about a year, she called me and she said, "Can I increase my thing to $50? I'm like, "You darn right." I'm so proud of her, because a lot of times at age 24, 25, people are not thinking about increasing their savings. But because she had started and she's conscious about saving and what it could do for her, when she got the opportunity to put more money in, I didn't even call her. She gave a call and said, I'd like to increase my savings. Okay. So go back to this slide, right? If you start at 20, you have 1.8 million. If you wait 10 years, so now $200 a month times 12 months is $2,400. Okay. Oh no, times 12 months is 2,400. Times 10 years is 24,000. I should say $24,000, right? $24,000 that you did not put in. Okay. You start at age 30 instead of age 20. You lost 10 years worth of savings. Okay. So without that extra 24,000, your balance at age 67 goes from 1.7 million to 700,000. Let me repeat that. You wait 10 years. You're forfeiting $24,000 in, but you lose $1 million on the back end. If you wait until 20 years later, till age 40, okay, you sacrifice 48,000, now you lose $1.5 million. If you wait until age 50, you sacrifice 72,000, you almost lose it all. So you tell me when you want to start saving, I'll tell you how much money you want to lose, or you're going to lose. And the question is, how much money do you want to lose? So now you got to just save from where you are. Don't worry about the past. Oh, I didn't do this. I wish I had known this however many years ago. Yes, we all do. But now that you know, take action.
Absolutely. It's remarkable just to see the difference that 10 years can make in money, with investing. So there was a
Oh,
question
and
about,
doesn't 10 years go by fast?
it goes so fast. And
Golly!
I think about in 10 years, I know that I've spent more than
It's no
$24,000
question.
on things that I know that I have no idea where I really spent it.
Absolutely. It's no question. And you're like, golly, like kids are like age markers, right? You'd be
Right.
like, little Johnny is 17? Golly, he was just
Right.
5 years old. And I'm really talking to the 20-some-year-olds. It goes by fast, really fast.
Absolutely. So let's talk about different retirement plans. And I know wow, this time has gone really fast. We have about 7 minutes, but I know we're towards the end of
Yeah,
the
just
conversation. So qualified retirement plans, let's just talk about those just to get us started. What should we be looking at?
Okay, so let's talk about the 401k first. All these retirement plans got their names, the one with numbers and letters, out of their placement in the IRS code book, right? So it's section 401 letter K talks about this plan. That's why it's called a 401k plan. Okay, so it's a volunteer contribution plan. Okay, and you put in whatever you put in is whatever you get out. Okay, it's tax deductible, meaning if you make $100,000 a year and you put $10,000 into your 401k, you only get taxed on $90,000. They take the $10,000 and they deduct it from your taxable income. Okay, so that's what they mean by tax deductible. So instead of paying taxes on $100,000, now you pay tax on $90,000. A lot of people look at it as pre-tax, but that's just another way of doing it. It's tax deductible. Okay, so if you can do 401k through an employer that you have a W-2 with. If you have your own business and you don't have any employees, you can have an individual 401k. Maximum contribution right now to 401ks is $19,500 a year for employees. If you have your own business, you can put up to $56,000 a year into your individual 401k, and $19,500 of it can be Roth contributions that I'll talk about later that are 100% tax-free. There's only very few ways to get paid in America without having to pay taxes. Roth IRA is one of those. And okay, so that's 401k through your company, individual 401k. Also, if you're self-employed, you have the choice of a SEP, which is simplified employee pension, or a simple plan. Okay. Now, if you work in the public sector, we have the 457 for state workers. We have the 403B for more local workers, counties, and things like that. You usually see that in hospitals and teachers and things like that. And then obviously you have your TSP for federal workers, and all those work exactly like the 401k, right? And then lastly, as an individual, and you're allowed to have a 401k at your job and also have an individual retirement account, which is IRA. So you can have an individual retirement account as well. And you can have it such that it has the rules of a 401k, but the contribution limits are a little lower. You can only put $6,000 a year into your traditional IRA. And if you're working and your spouse is not working, she can put in $6,000. All these have to be earned income. You have to have an income in order to put that money into these plans. So they will be tax deductible, but when you retire, you have to wait until age 59 and a half to take the money out. So the reason that you get the tax deduction and the tax privileges is because the government doesn't want to have to take care of everybody in retirement. Do you understand? If the government has to take care of everybody in retirement, it's going to be a bleed on the government. It's going to be tough on everybody because the taxes will have to go up. There's no other way around it, okay? And so that's why they started Social Security in the first place, to be honest with you. So, so they're trying to incent you to save for retirement with the tax privileges. If you don't save for retirement until age 59 and a half, they're going to take away the tax privileges and they're going to penalize you. Okay, so that's why they have that stipulation on the IRA and the 401k. We call these qualified retirement plans. So if you take out before 59 and a half, you're going to be penalized. But if you wait till 59 and a half, you can take the money out. Traditional IRAs, 401ks, 457s, and things like that, upon distribution, you have to pay the taxes as the money comes out. Okay, you got the tax deduction on contribution, but on distribution, you have to pay the taxes as the money comes out. Okay, on a Roth IRA, and you can have a Roth 401k, there can be a Roth TSP. Okay, you can have Roth. All that means is you do not get the tax deduction in the beginning, but upon retirement, it's 100% tax free. You never have to pay taxes on the earnings of that money ever, ever, ever. Okay, and so what happens is, as you take out, however much you take out in retirement from your qualified plan, that's going to determine your tax bracket, right? But if you take out from your qualified Roth IRA plan, that does not add to your tax bracket at all, right? So you can take out $50,000 from a qualified retirement plan and pay the 24% or whatever tax bracket you're in. Or if you have $50,000 in a Roth IRA, you pay nothing. Or you could take out $25,000 from a traditional, $25,000 from the Roth. You'll have $50,000 in income for the year, but you only pay taxes on $25,000. Yeah.
So some great information that we packed into 45 minutes. And so, Boca, thank you. A couple of things, if you wouldn't mind, Boca, there are some comments that we have on the feed. If you could go back later today and maybe respond to some that we didn't get to. So there was questions about, are there books that you might recommend or anything like that? For those who are joining us, there is a link for our survey. We would love to hear from you. You know, a lot of what we talked about today, we learned a lot from the last few sessions that we did do, and we're able to really find somebody dynamic in this particular area to be able to bring, you know, kind of a different lens to this whole discussion that really gave some practical insights and practical advice to how to build your financial house. And so and then the last thing, if you do want to reach Boca, please send us a message on Facebook with your email address, and we'll be sure to share that information with Boca so that he can be in contact with you. So any final thoughts that you want to give Boca before we wrap up?
No, I give you the floor. I just, it was a pleasure. I always love talking about this. If you can't really tell, it's exciting to me. And because I remember when I first got the information, I was like, whoa, how come I never knew about it? You know what I mean? And so to get this information out to people and have them have the chance to have, you know, a better financial future is just an awesome thing.
Great. Well, thank you again. We hope that you guys have a great day, and we look forward to bringing the next financial literacy session to you, which will likely be in April. So we hope to see you then.